Hi, Gray. So thanks for connecting. We are happy to be on screen with Whizlabs. So I have seen your recent videos and LinkedIn. You are doing really great things, right? So let me have a direct question. Like, what was the moment when you first considered pursuing a career in cloud computing? Did anything or anyone serve as an inspiration for your this great decision?
Sure. And thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here with Whizlabs today. So the exact moment when I knew that I'd pursue a career in cloud was in 2013. I was taking a university class called Emerging Enterprise Technologies, and we had to do a cloud project. So if I remember correctly, we were building an elastic MapReduce cluster, but I had left campus to go visit some family. I think we're going to a funeral. So I was staying at a hotel in Alabama, and I was like, I'm going to fail this class. I didn't do my homework because I'd forgotten my laptop. So I look around this hotel, and eventually I find these old computers that are sitting in the lobby somewhere. And they had to be from the 80s. It was the slowest computer I've ever been on. And I logged in, and I was able to log into the console and do my entire project from this 30-year-old computer that I didn't even think worked. And that was the moment I realized, wow, this is going to be everywhere, right? I can collaborate remotely. I don't need my own hardware. There's no limits to what I can do with this platform.
And from programmer, software programmer to a solution architect. So how do you feel this transition in your career?
I love it. So there's a couple things that make solutions architect more enjoyable to me. First of all, I'm very extroverted. I love working with customers, and I really wanted to learn business skills. So I felt like as a programmer, I wasn't getting to do that enough. So I enjoy solving technical challenges. That's part of being a solutions architect too. But it was all very abstract and low level. I wanted to focus on things that were high level and strategic. So as a programmer, every day started to feel the same to me. I felt like I had the same tasks: build an API, write 1,000 unit tests, write 1,000 integration tests. I was having the same conversations with product managers, with senior engineers over and over again. As an SA, I get a lot more variety. I'm typically dealing with executives, engineers, or engineering leaders, and it is seriously something different every day. One day we're doing machine learning. One day we're doing a big migration of some databases. One day we're working on a plain old API. So the variety keeps me going.
Wow. So you have a great career now in cloud with multiple, what you say, like so the different responsibilities you have to take care in a day. That's very cool. And what are the prerequisites like for becoming an AWS solution architect? How to learn? Can you please give your insight on that?
Absolutely. So the first thing I want to highlight is that solutions architect is normally a mid-career role for most people. There are programs where you can get around that. You can look at TechU here at AWS. You can look at several other programs that will train new graduates or people at the associate level. But for most people, it's mid-career. So to become a solutions architect, you need technical and customer-facing skills. So that's kind of a rare combination, actually. And I'd say there are a lot of professionals who have both, but finding them is challenging in today's job market for sure. You have to like to solve interesting tech problems. So SA never says that's not my job. If my customers come to me with something, whatever it is, I get to help them with that. So that's really exciting. You need to enjoy that. I would also say you need experience in at least one IT domain. So it doesn't have to be software development. That's where I come from. Machine learning, networking, security, infrastructure, at least one IT domain you'll need experience in. And as far as skills, I would focus on operating cloud systems, deployments, and cloud architecture at large scale. So when I say large scale, I mean millions of users. I mean, petabytes of data. I mean big. And finally, the last one, willingness to travel. Most SA jobs, 10 to 25%.
So you did a certification on AWS, multiple certifications. So how do you prepare for those kind of certification exams? And about interview like process in AWS, you can share like how long it took for you to get placed in Amazon. So please share that.
Yeah, gladly. So I'll start with the certifications because I did those first. I got my first 4 AWS certifications in 2019. And at the time, I felt it was very difficult. The best way is hands-on experience. Hands-on experience building real projects is better than everything. So after I got those first couple certifications, I started working as a software engineer at a company called Career Builder, and I got to migrate some things off of a competitor cloud onto AWS. I got to move some on-prem stuff to the cloud. I got to do some new projects in the cloud, and that was where I really sunk deep with the learning. So I'd say hands-on experience is better than everything. For the certification exams particularly, take lots of practice tests. I actually really like the practice tests on Whizlabs. We also AWS offers some official practice question sets that are free. That's the best way to gauge if you're ready to take the test or not. If you're routinely scoring 80% or above on a practice test, you probably know it better than you think. So if you want more tips on certifications, I've recently published an AWS blog. It's 5 tips for AWS certifications from AWS essays. I co-wrote it with my coworker, Josh Curbs, and you can learn all of my best tips there, but I'll give you one for free, and that is work backwards. Most outside the realm of testing, even if you start from what you're trying to accomplish, then you can more easily weed out extraneous information. So you might see at the end of a test question, it says, what is the most cost optimized solution? Well, if you know that, when you look at the answer choices, 2 of them don't make sense, especially at the associate level. 2 of them could just be eliminated entirely. And then when you're reading the question text, even some of the information that is supplied is relevant and some of it is not. So that will help you focus.
So viewers who are watching this video, the link is given in the description. We will share you that. Okay. Why did you choose getting certified in AWS? Why not? It can be on Azure or Google Cloud. So why did you choose specifically on AWS?
Sure. I chose AWS because I have the most experience using it. So maybe one day I would pursue other certifications on other platforms, but right now it's all I use. I do have some other certifications from the Python Institute. So if you are a Python programmer, that could be an interesting way to expand your skills. But yeah, I only get certified in things that I use very regularly.
Like what next in your future roadmap for 2023 and 24?
Sure. Let's see. So I started off as a programmer. Now I'm a solutions architect. I'm still learning and growing as a solutions architect, and I'm still really enjoying the role. So I could easily see myself staying as an SA for 2023, 2024. But when I think of the long-term future, I'm interested in DevRel. I'm interested in developer relations. I think that's a really exciting new role where you get to work directly with developers, which I do enjoy, and you kind of get to guide them through the wide world of tools out there. That sounds exciting. The reason I came to this role is I wanted to learn more business skills. So I could see myself trying out maybe sales or CSM. And then in the longest term future, I will found an APN partner.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And like, how do you see the cloud computing industry influencing other emerging technologies such as AI or machine learning, blockchain? And what are the opportunities do you see for innovation and growth in these particular areas?
Great question. I see convergence, right? So these things all kind of started happening independently. It's not like the cloud people and the machine learning people and the blockchain people have like a committee meeting where we all decide to go forward. But however, what I do see is that the ubiquity of specialized hardware really benefits these new use cases. So AI ML, you need sometimes like a warehouse full of GPUs in order to train a large language model. Where would you have gotten that 20 years ago? Now you can click 2 buttons and it's there. Blockchain, I'm a little bit less well versed on the hardware, but I believe a similar thing where the ability to spin up whatever hardware you need has really accelerated adoption. So what I see even more emerging use cases being empowered by cloud. There's all kinds of interesting hardware that is being offered now. So HPC clusters are one thing I've been looking at lately that could enable some new use cases. FPGAs, so field programmable gate arrays, they're actually customized circuits. Those are available now. Trainium. I think the more specialized hardware becomes ubiquitous, the more use cases we'll see that were never before possible. This is only the beginning.
Okay, great, thank you. And what are some misconceptions about cloud computing that you do like to dispel? I hear one thing like, is that true? Like, yeah, to start in cloud or if you want to develop a career in cloud, you should not have any programming skills. Is that true? To excel in cloud?
Ooh, I'm going to disagree with that. I think programming skills help everybody. I think in the world of the future, in like 10 to 20 years from now, I think coding skills will help everybody. So it's not to say you definitely need them, but they definitely help. So even as an architect, I code a lot less than as a software engineer, right? But the code that I ship is a different kind of code. Like we make infrastructure as code. So your entire architecture is configured, how it's going to be deployed, you know, every aspect of it is communicated through code. That's already happened to data. I could see that happening to more fields in the future. So I'd say some coding skills, bring some coding skills. Other misconceptions I like to dispel. Containers don't solve for everything. Containers are really useful. You should use them most, if not all of the time. I'm not saying they're bad, but they don't solve every problem that you'll run into doing a migration. So if you have like a really, really old workload it's running in your data center, you know, the classical engineering response is stuff it in containers, put it on the cloud. And I've seen that work 100 times. And I've seen it not work once or twice. So I'd say when you're using containers, particularly to migrate something old, you know, you've really got to get creative sometimes to think about like, how is the networking going to work? Like you need to get low level. You need to think down to a single packet and trace it, all the hops it's going to make, and make sure that the way that you've architected works for your container deployment strategy. Another misconception, people say, you know, oh, it's in the cloud, it's secure. Now the cloud is secure, but cloud security is a shared responsibility. So there's the security of the cloud. You know, the cloud provider is responsible for that. We do that for you. There's so many things that you don't have to worry about. Physical security of the actual facility, you know, certain aspects of network security. There's a lot that's taken care of for you, but you still have to make sure that your usage of the cloud is secure, right? You can't have port 80 exposed, right? You should be using HTTPS. You need to have sensible IAM policies. You know, everything needs to be audited, right? You need to be very careful with your security posture, even if you're using cloud or especially on the cloud, perhaps. And then the last thing I'd like to dispel is a lot of learners that I talk to in my network, the impression that cloud is hard to learn. And maybe that's true, but it's not impossible. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So do what you can today and do what you can every day. And in 2 years, you will be amazed at the progress you've made. And, you know, check out Skill Builder, check out Whizlabs, check out all of the amazing training that's available for you. There's so much out there that's free or that's very affordable that will speed you along.
That's great. So we heard a lot. These are the misconceptions, and you have given an ultimate clarity how to deal with those things. So people who think like cloud is very tough, it's not like that. You have a lot of resources to learn. These days, earlier it was like we have to stick with a lot of books and we have to find a lot of information on YouTube. But right now we have some small skill builders courses. Cloudcast, I see AWS Cloudcast is quite easy. Even I try to learn cloud very easily, just stick with the gaming theme. It was quite detailed and easy to learn. Anyone who even they are non-IT guys, they can definitely learn out with this Cloudcast. So I really enjoyed that. So very important point. Yeah, cloud is easy to learn. And what advice would you give to someone who is actually interested in pursuing a career in cloud? And what are the skills and experience which is very important for the success in this great field? And your biggest learnings from the past.
Awesome. I can do that. All right. So I'm going to start with the skills and experience that will make you successful in cloud. The number one thing in my mind is build stuff every day. Every day. It doesn't matter if you spend 5 minutes or 5 hours. More is better up to a certain point, but the important thing is consistency. Build every day. Practice hands-on as much as you can stand to, right? It takes a lot of time. I'm compassionate to that. It takes tons of time, but it's worth it. You know, choose self-directed projects. Don't just work on stuff that people tell you is important. Work on things that you're interested in, follow your passions, and explore things that are uncertain. You know, if you only pay attention to what's going on LinkedIn and the media, you know, you understand how important the AI is. It is. Everyone should learn AI. Everyone should learn coding, but it's not the only thing going on right now. You should look into things that are not as popular. You should look into things that are not a sure thing, and you might be way ahead of the curve. Like for me, that's how I even got into cloud. Now cloud seems obvious, right? It seems imminent. In 2013, most people hadn't really heard of it. So if you want to be ahead of the curve, you can't just go for the certain things. You have to explore uncertain things. And then I have a couple, these are more personal. The first one, be kind and compassionate. Maya Angelou says, people won't remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And that's super true. For any industry, any career, kindness and compassion are underrated. Develop your soft skills. I feel like so many tech people are just like, I'm really skilled at coding and everyone will just deal with my soft skills. And you know what? That works for some people. It did not work for me. I find that, becoming really good at listening, becoming really good at speaking, really working on being more mindful of how I navigate relationships with people has propelled my career a lot. And then finally, once you've built all these skills, stay up to date. Don't let them atrophy. Like I said, I'm not a software engineer anymore, but I keep those skills sharp because it serves me. So I'll go back. Let's talk about some of the biggest learnings. So my biggest learnings from the past, if I could just give myself advice 5 years ago, right before I climbed this mountain, I would say humble yourself. I was successful before I came to tech in music to a certain extent, and it's a big part of me. I love it. But I had to humble myself. I thought, I'm good at this. I'm going to be good at everything. And that is not how it worked for me. You've got to start over from the beginning sometimes. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. Tech is a team sport. You will do better with a study group. You will do better bringing your friends along with you for your journey. You will do better documenting and sharing the things you're learning online than if you just learn in a vacuum, right? You gotta show and prove in today's world. Always look for the impact. I worked on challenging things for a really long time, and I thought because they were hard that they must be important. But when I looked back afterwards, I asked myself the question, whose life was changed for the better by this work that I spent a year doing? And if I couldn't find an answer to that, if there was no impact, then it felt like I wasted my time. So look for your impact. If you're a business person, it might be dollars and cents. If you work for a nonprofit, it might be like lives saved. But however you measure it, look for that impact and maximize it. And then the last one, sorry, I'm full of these. The last one, most tech challenges are really people challenges, right? If there's something that isn't working with the technology, there might be something that isn't working with your organization. Maybe you're not emphasizing testing enough. Maybe you're not being kind and compassionate enough to each other. Maybe there's collaboration that could solve problems you're experiencing. I think a lot of times people don't want to look past the surface level technology challenge. But if you do, you'll see that maybe you could be working together with other people even better. You asked me how long did it take me to get into Amazon? And it took me a long time. So I applied right after I graduated from school. That's what I've always wanted to work. And I got declined. And I was honestly really sad about that. I made it to the phone screen and I didn't make it through. So I would go on to apply 14 more times, 15 times total over 7 years. It was the 15th time in the 7th year. That's when I finally got in as a software engineer at Amazon Music. I got to work on a stealth mode project. And that's when this period of hyper growth started for me in my skills and my relationships and my network. So I say all of that to say, don't give up. Never give up. Don't be discouraged. The only person who can stop you is you. I know that it's discouraging. I know that there's not a lot of encouragement sometimes, but when you get through that, the reward is always worth it. Just keep going.
I think people who are listening to this video, they will be super inspired and excited with your great journey, Ray. So we thanks a lot and thank you very much for joining this. And Whizlabs always proud to host you on this show. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having me.